Hi, my name is Ron Savage, and I am here to really promote my new short story collection called Loving You the Way I Do. I don't know whether you can get a good glimpse of that without it glaring at you. You can get this at Amazon and Barnes & Noble and that sort of thing, also from the publisher Black Lawrence. But what I wanted to do today is I wanted to read a story from the book. To give you an idea of how I write, what I write about. So if you do decide to get the book, at least you know what you're going to be getting, okay? So let's begin. Dillon. She loved Dillon before she loved anyone else. Lionel knew that. You could be a moron and still know that. Rhonda first approached Lionel in the Student Center at the University of Connecticut, the spring of '79. Maybe that summer. She said, "So you do the drawings and the words, or just the drawings, or just the words? What exactly?" Rhonda held a rolled copy of the campus newspaper where Dillon appeared. Lionel told her he did both the drawings and the words. He had to clear his throat before he told her, and his voice sounded uneven and shaky. In '79, Rhonda was too much, too tall, too thin, too blonde, too pretty, too beautiful. She had a blue-eye intensity that bordered on hunger. Lionel felt psychotic around Rhonda. At that time, he thought psychotic meant something more dramatic than anxious, but wasn't sure what that something entailed. Later, he learned everybody felt psychotic around Rhonda, as she had a non-denominational effect. Rhonda wanted him to autograph the newspaper. As he signed it, she said she had a weakness for talented, nervous guys. And he said, yeah, and then said, great, seriously. What he wanted to tell her was this: we should go out. I have a weakness for intense, beautiful women who want to devour me. But Lionel didn't know how to say that. He did manage a semi-date. 2 months after they met, they were in the back seat of his father's '77 silver Volvo drinking Heinekens. Rhonda was on her fourth one when she said she had an abortion once. "The asshole really tore up my inside," she said. Lionel had just finished talking about a movie he'd seen last Friday. The shift in conversation confused him. He said, pardon me? And Rhonda said, "Some people get to have babies, some people get to be babies. Have you ever noticed that? Which do you prefer?" Lionel said, "I don't know. Whatever keeps me seeing you." Rhonda thought that was priceless. Dillon died less than a week ago. A day after the boy's death, Lionel's wife had seen the writing on the wall and left him. They had been married 12 years. Rhonda said, "I can't live with a man who murders children." Lionel told her she was full of it. He said, "Trust is a two-way street." Rhonda said, "You know your problem? You have a disturbed sense of humor. That's your problem." He didn't argue. Rational discussion had no place in their relationship. Lionel is sure his wife doesn't mind his disturbed sense of humor when she drives her BMW 760 Li. Lionel also is sure his wife knows where all those cards for Bergdorf Goodman, Century 21, Saks, etc., come from. The 2 months a year in Paris, the 10 days in Venice at Carnival. She's a few things, but dumb is not one of them. The day his wife left him was the day Lionel said, "We don't have a child." He said, "We've never had a child and never will have a child." Then Lionel said, "What I killed was a cartoon." Rhonda had said, "Same difference." Lionel hates change. He is now living alone in their Clinton Hill townhouse. His studio has a high ceiling and a skylight with an electronically adjustable aperture. Paintings of Dillon hang on white walls in narrow black metal frames. 2 of the paintings go floor to ceiling. There are also long strips of Dillon pictures that start at one side of the room and end at the opposite corner. Everybody's rascal, everybody's angel, pink-skinned, blue-eyed, blonde-haired Dillon. He is wearing his trademark bib overalls, his red and white striped t-shirt, his black high-top Keds with the shoestrings untied. Dillon belongs to a rarefied level of cuteness. It's a level of sight and sound best left to bats and dogs. Little boy poses abound, and the very ones you would expect, there are no surprises. Dillon with his back to you, hands stuffed into his pockets as he looks over his shoulder and winks. Dillon tippy-toed on the kitchen chair while he sneaks a chocolate chip cookie from Mom's shiny yellow cookie jar. Dillon crouched and gazing between the stair railings, his blue eyes wide, his bright, startled that it's Mom and Dad who are placing his Christmas gifts under the tree. Dillon naps at the shoreline of a lake, his fishing pole leaning against his bare toes. A floppy-eared dog sleeps beside him. The dog is Dillon's best friend, Poopy Puppy. Mr. Poopy, the poopster, for 10 glorious years, Poopy Puppy has been adored by both children and single women with pets. Had been Rhonda's final question before leaving Lionel. Rhonda meant the syndication people. She was staring at him at the open doorway of their townhouse, dressed in diesel jeans and a denim jacket, the strap of her tan leather carryall hooked over her shoulder. Dillon is syndicated in 478 papers around the world. Last Sunday, Lionel had a drunken driver run Dillon down and kill him. The description, "squoosh," was large and outlined in jagged black, then painted red inside the letters. A balloon bubbled up out of the driver's window with the word "hic." You could see Dillon's pink arm behind the right rear tire. If you had studied Dillon's hand, you would have seen his middle finger extended ever so slightly. The last panel showed the familiar phrase, "to be continued," and something not so familiar. "Say your goodbyes to our boy Dillon. Funeral services right here next Sunday." Lionel's last words to his wife were, what, too dramatic? 2 weeks ago, the night of June 28th, Lionel had a private detective follow Rhonda and Lionel's lawyer, a Mr. Bobby Chesney, Jr., to the Carlisle on East 76th Street. The detective later presented Lionel with a dozen colored glossies of Rhonda and Mr. Chesney in compromising positions 1 through 8 of the Kama Sutra. Lionel hired another lawyer. He hired Bobby Chesney Sr., the father of his former lawyer. The Chesneys hadn't spoken to each other since the son had organized a coup de grace and forced the father into premature retirement. Mr. Chesney Sr. believed that Lionel was a messenger from God. "Does this mean you'll represent me?" Lionel wanted to know. "Vengeance is mine," said Mr. Chesney Sr. Lionel took this as a yes. Chesney Sr. is a pale, fat man of 62. He has brown, watery eyes and an uneven chin. "What we've got here is a 3-step deal," said Mr. Chesney Sr. He liked to strategize in steps. He said, "Step number 1, make all assets liquid. Liquid assets are portable assets. Step number 2, hide the liquid assets, preferably in the Cayman Islands. Step 3, you got to kill this Dillon putz." Lionel didn't get the last step. They'd just ordered 2 corned beefs at the Carney Deli on 7th. The lunch crowd had left 40 minutes ago. Rows of shadowy tables filled the back of the restaurant. Cured meats and kosher dill spiced the air. Lionel said, "You're kidding, right? I can't do that. You can't expect me to do that. People are attached to Dillon. They love him, okay? We're talking genuine love, for God's sakes. Think of Dillon as a giant breast, said Mr. Chesney Sr., who apparently was not above a psychoanalytic metaphor. Then he said, now, think of your wife, your soon-to-be furious ex-wife, as an infant who'll forever be hungry. Are you getting my point? Kill the cartoon. His name's Dillon, said Lionel. I don't care if it's Jesus, said Mr. Chesney Sr. People love Dillon, said Lionel. Your future ex won't care either, said Mr. Chesney Sr., and he added, you have enough money. Kill this Dillon. If you don't do what I'm telling you, he'll die by inches and take you with him. Lionel is at his drawing board. He is focusing on a strip of 5 blank panels for the Sunday funeral. Afternoon light drifts down from open aperture in the ceiling. The light is a dusty gold and reflects off the white studio walls. Lionel's been thinking, a drunk driver hitting Dillon with a car isn't the same as burying Dillon in a box. The dirt nap is eternal. There are no possibilities with a dirt nap. If you're dead, you're dead. But a drunk driver could get Dillon into intensive care. His fans would send him cards and flowers. They would hold midnight vigils and wave Bic lighters over their heads and sing Kumbaya. Rhonda had cheated on him before, Chesney Jr., yearly, maybe biannually, who knows. She confessed constantly. She confessed until he told her he didn't want to hear any more confessions. He told her confessions made only the person doing the confessing feel better. Everybody else ended up feeling like shit. Rhonda took their conversation to mean she could continue to do what she was doing, but she didn't have to discuss it. The phone on the small mahogany table by the drawing board is ringing. Don't hang up, Rhonda says. Her words are all bunched together. A slur, to hang up. She could be drinking. It might be pills. It might be anything. She says, why now? Why are you changing our rules now? Lionel doesn't know. The pictures, he says, and hears himself. Then Lionel does know. It's the pictures. He says, the pictures of you and Chesney. Pictures change the rules. You can't do that, says Rhonda. My life, my rules, says Lionel. I have a life too, Rhonda says, and it comes out. I have a life too. Not here, not anymore, Lionel says. The pictures are like an automobile accident. You don't want to stare, but you do, and you can't turn away. Chesney Jr. doesn't look all that different from Chesney Sr. Too short, too fat, too bald. A crappy chin. Why Chesney? Lionel has to ask. Why anybody, says Rhonda. Wasn't I attentive enough? Lionel still has to ask. None of that matters, says Rhonda. Her words are becoming less and less slurred. She's smoking a cigarette. Lionel can hear her exhaling the smoke, a thin, noisy stream. In one of her confessions, Rhonda told Lionel that what she did was genetic. She had this gene, her therapist said. Lionel wanted to know what gene the therapist was referring to, what part of the DNA was devoted to fucking over people's lives. I need stimulation, Rhonda said. What she is telling him now on the phone is what she had told him when he had asked about the DNA. She is saying, it's like jumping out of an airplane or riding a roller coaster. Jason, he's my new therapist, he says I do it to keep my depression away. The apple a day theory, says Lionel. You can't kill Dillon, says Rhonda. He's dead, said Lionel. Lionel is thinking about Rhonda in the back seat of his father's '77 silver Volvo. Some people get to have babies, some people get to be babies. Have you ever noticed that? Which do you prefer? He'd said, whatever keeps me seeing you, or something close to it. Too bad you can't delay important questions until later in your life. Too bad your dick can't shut up. I'm going to need money to live, says Rhonda. No slurs now. Like a pension, says Dillon. Says Lionel. Don't bury Dillon too soon, says Rhonda, and blows another noisy stream of cigarette smoke into the phone. Then she says, you'll definitely be needing our darling buckaroo. Tonight, Lionel has a dream. He is watching this dream and thinking, you don't need to be Jason, the therapist, to get the message. In the dream, DNA woman is nailing pink-skinned, blue-eyed, blonde-haired Dillon to a small wooden cross. Dillon is wearing his trademark bib overalls, his red and white striped t-shirt, his black high-top Keds with the shoestrings untied. Every time DNA woman whacks the nail deeper into Dillon's wrist, a dialogue balloon appears over Dillon's head with the words, ouchie, painted in bold letters. DNA woman is laughing hysterically. Her dialogue balloon reads, ha ha ha. She is also pulling $1,000 bills out of Dillon's little pink ass. At 3:17 a.m. on Wednesday morning, Lionel finished the 5 panels for Dillon's Sunday funeral and faxed them to the syndication people. Chesney Sr. had said it right. Kill this Dillon. If you don't do what I'm telling you, he'll die by inches and take you with him. Dillon had made Lionel wealthy. There was the strip, the TV holiday specials, the 2 feature animations, the one in the works. There were 16 Dillon hardback collections, and all 16 books reappeared every Christmas. What Lionel resisted was merchandising. He resisted stretching Dillon into a cottage industry. He resisted depleting Dillon by sending him down too many roads. Lionel had said no to a clothing line, Dillon and Poopy Puppy lunch boxes, and action figures, prefab tree houses, swing sets, an entire line of Poopy Puppy pet products. The Dillon shampoo, the bath gels, the towels, the bed sheets, the blankets, and so on and so on and so on. Lionel had said no to a Houston entrepreneur who pitched a Dillon and Poopy Puppy fast food franchise with such items as Dillon Delicious Burgers, Poopy Fries. Mr. Chesney Sr. doesn't have to worry. Protecting Dillon is non-negotiable. Furious Rhonda won't be stalking her little buckaroo. Lionel has gone with step 3. This Sunday morning, Lionel is at JFK Airport where his cell phone rings. You had the funeral? It's Rhonda. She says, don't think you're fooling anybody, okay? I'm not a stupid woman. You always had a disturbed sense of humor. Lionel says, you'll get the townhouse and the money. You just won't get the sort of money you'd like, that's all. You don't have. What kind of funeral was that? Rhonda had to ask. Take care, he says. You call that burying somebody? Rhonda still has to ask. Lionel shows his boarding pass to the British Airways attendant. She is tall and slim and wears her dark hair in a tight bun. The attendant signals him to turn off his cell phone. Just before Lionel ends the call, Rhonda says, for your information, burying somebody requires you to stick them in the ground. Have to go, he says. Lionel powers down his phone and tucks it in the pocket of his gray suitcase. coat. Why the ground? Why the old-fashioned dirt nap? He decided to go modern. Cryogenetics, a perfect choice for the ambivalent mourner. Maybe medical science can discover a way to help our pink-skinned, blue-eyed, blonde-haired Dillon. Well, not right away, of course. Lionel will wait a year or two. With all Rhonda's indiscretions, she doesn't date. She marries. First Paris, though. He is going to Paris. From a window seat, he watches the baggage handlers as they toss suitcases onto the black conveyor belt. Lionel likes the French. He admires people who don't yield to the pressures of others. He admires people who know their own minds. That's one of the stories in Loving You the Way I Do. You can get my collection at Barnes & Noble online, Amazon online, from the publisher Black Lawrence. And I hope you'll do that, not only because of the money, but because I think you'll like these stories. I'm Ron Savage. Thanks a lot for watching.